was my C8 Z06, and this is a Maserati MC20, a ridiculously expensive car. Some people like to say that a C8 Z06 is not a supercar, and we are proving it video after video after video. How does a C8 Z06 compare to this other supercar? A supercar that costs over 2 times the amount of the C8 Z06. My C8 Z06 was $137,000. This Maserati MC20 base is about $260,000, but this spec is $340,000. How in the world can anybody justify the price for that supercar? I don't know. Today we're gonna test both of them. We're gonna have the C8 Z06. We're gonna have the MC20. We're gonna do a direct test. We're gonna see, is one more of a supercar than the other? Is the price justified? I don't know. We're gonna find out today. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. It's about to be a pretty fun video. Let's start taking a look at this car. We're gonna look at the interior, we're gonna look at the exterior, we're gonna look at the entire vehicle so that we can see kind of what the differences are. My C8 Z06 just took off, but it's gonna be back. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen. So first we're gonna take a look at this interior here. It's actually pretty nice. I mean, the spec that they got on here, it looks pretty good. Like if I had to choose what the interior would look like if I ever got this car, I would definitely probably go with this. Seems like a kind of an Alcantara style, I don't know, mixture of something for the seats. Very light. Although, actually, you know what? Screw that. I wouldn't go with this color because if I accidentally dropped some ketchup on this, I'd be PO'd. Although Maserati is charging you $340,000 for this, for whatever reason, they can't give you a real, I mean, how do you even open this door? Is there like a button? You can close it like this. You just grab this cheap little latch thing here that's made of probably something that costs about $1 and you pull it down. Chevy at least gives you some electronics for what they're charging you for. But this is probably why this car is super expensive. Look at all this carbon fiber. I mean, this entire door is carbon fiber, carbon fiber, carbon fiber, carbon fiber. I'm gonna take a feel of the ergonomics of this vehicle. So right now I'm sitting inside this MC20. Headroom is actually pretty good. If you look up here, slowly pan up, headroom is pretty good. You can even look at my face. Look, my head, I actually have pretty good room. I might have more room than my Z06, I don't know. And this car does seem a little bit smaller, but the headroom's pretty good. Seat feels fairly comfortable, kind of, in a way. At the bottom part of the seat where my butt is a little bit hard. So long drives might get your butt a little bit sore. Quite a few buttons on the steering wheel similar to the Z06, except the start stop is right here versus right here on the Z06. You have a launch button. I don't know what launch means, but that'd be something to be very fun to find out. This little dial, I guess the car has to be on for it to maybe potentially show something on it. I don't know. D and M, drive and manual. I don't know, maybe for the paddle shifts, who knows? And then an R mode. What is R mode? Is that race? No, I think that's reverse. Right behind me seems to be a sound system, so whatever you're booming on your radio, it's gonna be literally right there in your ear. So that's interesting. Maybe it sounds good, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Who makes these? I don't even know who makes the boom in this. I don't know. Let's see if I know how to fire this thing up. I'm not gonna drive it, I'm just gonna turn it on. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna put my foot on the brake. No one's telling me how to do this. I'm gonna hit the start stop. That didn't do it. Let me try it one more time. Oh! It fires up. And this is a 600 plus horsepower 6-cylinder. And it's twin turbocharged. It's a 3-liter or something like that. I gotta look up the exact. So on these Maserati MC20s, these things get about 15 miles per gallon city, 25 miles per gallon highway. It's a 3-liter V6 twin turbo, 621 horsepower with an 8-speed dual clutch transmission. So you got these paddle shifts on here. It's rear-wheel drive. It's not all-wheel drive. Curb weight is about 3,250 all the way up to about 3,400 pounds. It's lighter than the Z06 for sure. Makes less horsepower. It is rear-wheel drive, but it is a 6-cylinder versus an 8-cylinder. Boo. Actually, getting in and out of this is a little bit easier than the Z06. I kind of like this one. I wish it was the Z06 had this style. GM engineers, if you're listening to this, next iteration, the C9, whatever it is, make it this easy to get in and out, because the MC20, they figured that out really well. I was looking at the key and I was going to do basically a remote start, and there is no remote start that I see on this key, unfortunately. So how are you going to go pay $300,000 plus for this and you don't even have a remote start? What the heck? All right. Let's look at some of these exterior portions of the vehicle, right? So you got these wheels here, what size they are. They're definitely not 21s like you find on the Z06. These things seem to be on the rear 305 tires with 20-inch wheels, carbon ceramic brakes, smaller ones on the rear here, not that big. Once again, it's a smaller car, so lighter car doesn't probably need the most massive brakes in the world. 6-piston brakes, of course, right? Obviously carbon ceramic, 245, 35, 20s up front. So 245s in the front, 305s in the rear, so not the widest tires in the world. Bridgestones wrapping it around. Beautiful front end. I can definitely get with this front end of this vehicle. I mean, it's nice. It does look clean. Maserati always has very good looking vehicles. Really big opening right here on these front grills for the radiators and coolers and stuff. Looks like this radiator is mounted a little weird in there, but it probably works for getting air in there and cooling this car down for the 6-cylinder twin turbocharged motor. Probably some type of frunk up here. I'm not gonna open that up right now. Styling on the outside, a lot of carbon fiber. That's what brought the price of this vehicle over $300,000, was this crazy carbon fiber package. I believe the carbon fiber package that they have on this specifically is about a $40,000 plus option, and then all the other little stuff like it being a convertible. This is a hardtop convertible versus the hardtop, and this is a lot of carbon fiber, by the way. You look on the outside of this car, there's a ton of carbon fiber. We got the twin exhaust back here, pipes, and not the 4 that you see on the Z06, and the motor's back here. But because it is a hardtop convertible, you don't have this nice little viewing area to see the motor, unfortunately. That sucks. This little screen in here, we didn't really talk about that, but that's a very tiny screen. But I guess when you're driving a sports car, supercar, you don't need a massive screen. You just need something that works. And I know you've been seeing it the whole time, but the vertical door is very nice on this thing. But hey, look, it's my beautiful orange car that's almost ready to come back in here. Look at this thing. So gorgeous. And if you're looking for cup holders in this vehicle, it's in the back. So I don't know how you're gonna put your hand back there to grab it. That's gonna be kind of weird, but there is one, not two for the 2 people that will be riding in this car, only one. All right, so we got Marcus here. We got the MC20, and he's gonna start this thing up because we're gonna do an exhaust check. We're gonna see one supercar versus another supercar. We got this 6-cylinder twin turbo, 3-liter, 621 horsepower MC20, and then we are going to hear what it sounds like compared to the 670 horsepower flat plane crank 5.5 liter V8 from GM, the marvelous C8 Z06. But first, let's hear what this MC20 sounds like. That's the idle right there. So that's what an MC20 sounds like. You just heard it right there. You heard the idle, you heard some revs, but now we're gonna go over to the C8 Z06 and let you hear what a flat plane crank V8 sounds like. That's what a flat plane crank V8 sounds like. This thing sounds like a jet right now because it's trying to cool itself down. A little bit warm outside today when we've been going up and down the hills, but that's what it sounds like. So you in the comments tell me right now, does a flat plane crank V8 C8 Z06 sound better than an MC20 with its 6-cylinder twin turbo-ness? Which one do you like? Which one sounds like more like a supercar? Let me know right now in the comments. All right, so right now I'm in the C8 Z06, and I'm gonna give my take on a supercar. We're gonna be driving around a little bit, getting some cool shots. I'm gonna talk about why I think this is a true supercar. Firstly, the feel. This car, the way it feels is just absolutely incredible. The way it goes through the corners, hugs every single corner that you go around. This thing is so freaking sick. And it grips and rips. You can actually accelerate out of a corner. and have grip, unlike old Corvettes where it was a little bit tougher. This thing does what other ones cannot do. Oh my gosh, this thing is so amazing. And when it comes to a supercar means super performance, right? You got a sporty car that has super performance. That's what a supercar means. A lot of people like to think that exotic cars are just supercars. No, it does not have to be exotic. Exotic means that there's exotic features to the car, which is far different than what super means. Super means the performance of a sports car is super. Exotic means it's a supercar that has exotic features. Two different kind of cars. So don't compare exotic with supercar. You can't get those mixed up. The C8 Z06 is not an exotic car, but it is a supercar. It's a performance car with a sporty performance car with super performance. It's not just normal performance. It's not just sporty performance. It's super performance. Listen to that engine though. You got that 5.5 liter flat plane crank V8 gripping with 670 horsepower, but this particular car has more because of my modifications on it. The Venturi air intake, you got the ported throttle body, you got the cross brace kit that I have on it for handling, the exhaust, AWE catback exhaust, giving you a little bit more down and torque. There's just so many little minor mods that I've done, nothing major, but it's added to this car. It's added, it's made it even better than stock. Second gear, third gear, you have plenty of power, which are a lot of the gearing that you're going to use on smaller, tighter surfaces, right? When you're going to like maybe a canyon where we're on right now, or even going to a small road course track. Second, third, you'll be using that a lot, maybe getting so forth a little bit, but the power is there. Even once you get so forth, fifth, the power is still there, the torque is still there, the car still gets up and goes. There's not a lot of cars that can do it as well as the C8 Z06 can. I'm very curious to feel what that MC20, the Maserati, feels like. I don't know if it can handle the same way this one can, but we'll find out. Now, obviously, we're going lower speeds in these canyons, but even in second, it's just that note is so perfect. It sounds so good. Now let's look at pricing. The C8 Z06 isn't necessarily priced in the same price range as most supercars you would see for the pricing. This car was $137,000. It wasn't that expensive compared to other comparable in performance and super performance type vehicles. A lot of people want to say that this car isn't a supercar because it's not priced like some of these supercars out there. Well, guess what? That's BS. It's a load of crap. At $137,000, you're getting $300,000 worth of performance in the C8 Z06. Even when it comes to aerodynamics, this car actually has a decent amount of downforce. I don't have the C8 Z06 Z07 package. I don't have that. That car produces almost 800 pounds of downforce at high speeds. This car only produces like just under 400 pounds of downforce at high speeds because I don't have that big wing on the back. I do plan on getting a bigger wing at some point. I don't know if it's going to be the Z07 one. Stay tuned. We got some cool surprises coming up at some point. Maybe later this year, maybe next year. We'll find out. Do a little second to third gear pull. This thing accelerates so good, and the braking is amazing. The big carbon ceramic brakes. Everything is so refined and perfect. It's the best vehicle GM has ever made. The C8 Z06, it's a supercar. I don't care what anyone says, this car is a supercar. Hear it, feel it, experience it. Oh. So right now we're in the MC20 and Marcus is going to be driving, and since he's a lot more knowledgeable on this car, I'll let him do a lot of the talking on this thing. What he thinks this thing feels like compared to the C8 Z06, what he likes, what he doesn't like about the MC20, and I'll let everybody in the comments be able to decide pretty much what they think is the best supercar between the C8 Z06 and the MC20. You just basically heard my take in the C8 Z06. Now we're going to hear his take in the MC20.
Cello. Top down. What drive mode do you want?
Just whatever sporty drive mode you can use, you know?
Yeah, we'll put it in sport, and then it has adaptive suspension, of course, but then we can choose between soft and mid suspension, but still keep, like the Corvette, the throttle response. And everything like that.
And I like that adjustability that you can have with these newer supercars, where it's not just one way. It's like you have a lot of ways, and this thing gets up and goes a little bit.
I mean, the obvious thing is like V6 versus V8. You know, V6 is it'll never sound as good as a V8, but
yeah. The six-cylinder doesn't sound bad, especially on the downshifts. I'm still trying to see if I like it on the acceleration, but the downshifts, definitely sound good. That six-cylinder can get up and go pretty good.
It's quick.
It feels like it has some torque to it, even though it's a 6.
It's got a lot more, like, low down, you know, if you're mid-corner, especially on a tighter road, like with any turbo car, but the turbos get hot, they spool up super quick, so I'd imagine if traction's off and you're not careful, and then torque hits you at the wrong moment, and it's not going to be good.
But probably, I would say, probably a bit more manageable in this car because it's not the V8 torque that really will snap and, you know, send you into oblivion.
Yes. If you give it some loaded, like lower RPMs, you can do
turbo. That's the one thing the C8 Z06 doesn't have. It's naturally aspirated, so it doesn't have those turbo noses. But when the C8 ZR1 comes in, that's going to be crazy with the largest twin turbos, largest turbos period ever on a production vehicle.
Yeah.
It's going to be nuts.
This guy's nice.
Yeah, so it's fine.
California etiquette.
Yeah.
You hear the turbo there?
Oh yeah. I love the spooling of the turbos. I love that blow off.
To me, it's smooth. The Z06 is, it's got adaptive suspension. Like as far as a Corvette goes, before or compared to a C7, it is so smooth and daily drivable.
Yeah.
Compared to a C6 and C7, but I expect that from a Maserati, and it is. This is. I mean, you're never going to be able to escape the fact that it's a carbon monocoque supercar.
Yeah.
So it's stiff, it's rigid, but at the same time, I put 400 miles on this car, and my back doesn't hurt.
Yeah, no, it feels good. I can feel the suspension, just even without me driving it. I still feel like what this car feels like under me. I can feel that the suspension is definitely adapting to the surface really well. It's very smooth. It's not like too crazy on you, but the car definitely still handles well. Even in the corners, the car still gets around pretty good.
And while we're stuck on this traffic, we can put it in Corsa.
Corsa, is that like the highest way? Okay.
So there's stiff suspension too.
Okay, we'll hear what we'll feel what the stiff suspension feels like. I can feel it. I can feel the change.
Yeah.
For sure, I can feel the change. A Turbo 6.
Turbo just gets me.
Okay.
I mean, for everything, like there are quite a few similarities. Just, I guess, in the way most mid-engine cars feel, because you're low
Yeah.
You're further back than you would be. Or sorry, you're further forward than you would be in a front engine car. And then of course you've got the low, like really good visibility up front and everything like that.
Yeah.
But there's no comparison with the sound.
Yeah.
There's literally zero comparison
True.
in the sound department. Like, yeah, boost noises are cool and fun, and you can kind of play around.
This accelerator's pretty good. I mean, it's not bad at all.
It's pretty quick.
620. I think 621 is what I saw, unless there's like different variations. But like, I think I saw 621 horsepower with this, which is, I mean, that's really solid for a 6-cylinder, a 3-liter 6-cylinder. I mean, you know, you think back to the 2JZ days, those things coming out with 276 horsepower or whatever, you know, back in the day with twin turbos. And now you got these, you know, 3 liters here that are coming 621 horsepower. Like, that's nuts from 3 liters.
That is crazy. It's crazy. And the 2J is like considered over-engineered for the time.
Yeah.
And this feels like, I don't know if you can feel it too when boost comes on, it feels super like high strung, and you can tell they're shoving a ton of boost at it.
Yeah.
To get that power level.
Yeah. No, I mean, with 3 liters, you have to turn it up. This gets up and goes really good. This will be so fun on the track.
Wow. It's got the passive power that you don't.
Yeah.
You would have to downshift in the C8 to really get that the high rev kind of scream in here.
And were you in 3rd gear? That's all right. Wow. Yeah, the turbos definitely help because they kick in really good. You don't really feel, at least I'm not feeling from this seat, a lag in it. I mean, it just gets up and goes.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Look at you turn here.
Oh yeah, the C8 smooth. I can't remember. Are the C8 Z06 paddles column mounted or are they on the steering wheel?
They are on the steering wheel. They're not column mounted.
Okay.
Yeah, so that you can, when you're turning, you can still shift if you need to.
Yeah, I haven't decided what I prefer.
Definitely on the steering wheel for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because there are times where in the corner you got to do something. You know, it's not preferred. You usually want to get your shifting done beforehand. But there's sometimes where you're in some different corners where you're like boom, boom, boom. And you need to just either upshift real quick or you need to do something. And if you got to like come, it's just weird. So it's like I'd rather have it there where I can do what I need to do.
Yeah, they're always exactly
where you need them to be, where your hands are.
9 and 3. Yeah. Yeah, like if you're in a corner like that and you go to accidentally tug.
Yeah, you're like, Now the only thing is when you get crossed up a little bit, you're trying to remember, okay, where is it at now?
Yeah, no kidding.
Now we're back in the sport mode. We got a little bit of space. We'll feel what this thing feels like going downhill. Turbo noises, turbo noises, turbo noises. Good car.
I mean, it does what it sets out to do. Now, I don't know about you. Do you think this is like, do you think it sets itself apart enough from Ferrari 296, McLaren Artura?
I haven't been in the Artura and I haven't been in the 296. I've only seen stuff on them. Does it set itself apart? I don't know. I was near a 296 as it was running up and down a runway, and that thing was just absolutely demolishing everything. I definitely wouldn't say this one's better than any of those. It's just another version of them. I think a tamer version of the 296. Because I don't think it could compete in speed or handling or anything like that with the 296. But it's definitely a tamer version of that. So for someone who doesn't need all the craziness of 296 to give you, I think this will give you what you need. And it's a solid car. I mean, just from what I'm feeling here, this will be a fun car to bring on track.
And that's what Maserati's trying to bring in, right? They're like, this is a race-bred supercar.
Yeah.
But also, Maserati is a luxury brand. It is a luxury brand. So it needs to be able to be daily drivable. Which, you know, I've never driven a 296. I don't know if it would be as well, but
this, like, the feel that I'm getting from Lisa passenger seat is that this isn't a car that feels like it's going to kill you. It feels like a car that's going to allow you to have fun, rip around, but also like not be too crazy where it's like, oh crap, I got to really watch it. I mean, any car you got to watch it, but this one, it feels like it gives you what you want, but it doesn't want to end your life.
Well, and it's like the Corvette, do you really need more than 600-700 horsepower on the street?
It's perfect. I mean, it honestly is perfect for all the people who watch YouTube and watch all these YouTubers who have like 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 plus horsepower on their builds. What y'all don't know is that stuff is very hard to maintain. You don't go make that power and then the car just works every single day and lasts every day. You go make 1,000,000 passes on it and it just does what you want. Never do maintenance on it. Through those vehicles, you go do a few passes and you're doing oil change. You'll do a few passes, you're changing this, changing that. You'll do a few passes and you're checking, you know, you're pulling stuff off, your valve covers off, you're checking this, checking that. I mean, there's all these things you got to do when you're making that kind of power. You don't need that. To have fun on the street and even on the track, you don't need more than the 500 to 600 horsepower range, 700 max, but 500 to 600 in that range. That is where the most fun you'll have, the most reliable fun you'll have with any vehicle on the streets.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's something I have to think about just as the carbon ceramics are squeaking.
Yeah.
And I know carbon ceramics are an option on the Z06. That's another thing. Like, carbon ceramics are great.
Yep.
You gotta get heat in them and stuff. But I would almost prefer, especially for the Z06, just standard steel brakes.
And it's still definitely going to save a lot of money on this deal. But the stopping power of those carbon ceramics and the way that you can go run it all day on track and they like never get too hot, that's what I like about them. But this deal though, it is definitely an option. It depends what you want. If you're only going to street the car, get the steel. If you're going to track it, man, those carbon ceramics really work. But you got to have the pocket for it as well, because when you finally got to replace them, it's not going to be cheap.
No, it's like, well, and that brings me to, I mean, price, and that's a huge thing. The Corvette's always been, you know, it's trying to undercut all the supercars. This, as it sits, $340,000.
Yeah,
USD.
$340,000.
That's a lot.
I don't think, like, if I was looking at C8 Z06 and looking at this, there's nothing that this would give me that says $340,000.
The doors, man, though.
The doors are nice, and all the carbon fiber, it is nice.
Sure, yeah.
But $340,000, I'd rather go get a GT3 RS if I had that kind of money. I'd rather go get a, I don't know, a Huracan, STO, whatever. You know, I'd rather go see if I can find a cheap, you know, Aventador.
Well, and that's the thing. Who does this appeal to, right? Because the purists are always going to go after the end. Well, it's just a good sounding V8.
Yeah.
Right? They're looking for NA power, like the STO. They're not looking for a V6 turbo car.
Yeah.
And not to say this engine isn't awesome. It is.
It's a good six-cylinder. I mean, if I could have a six-cylinder twin turbo, this sounds great, and this would be great. I like the sound of this over R35 GTR. Yes. Honestly.
Yeah. I agree too. R35s are they're hit or miss.
I've never been a fan of the R35 GTR sound. I've been a fan of its performance, its capabilities. The sound just never got to me. Now the 34 GTR, yes, that's that acceleration. Yeah, this thing definitely picks up and goes. Even for a six-cylinder twin turbo, the acceleration is on V8, you know, V8 level for sure.
Yeah, I just don't think I would rather have this than 3 of your cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Roughly.
Exactly. You could. I think there's a way you could almost get 3 of my cars. I think with this. Yeah, you'd have lesser options for sure, but you could. Yeah, because I mean, there's some of them out there for 110 grand, 115. So you might be able to get away with it.
That's crazy for $110,000, like on the low end, right?
I know a guy in San Diego who just picked up one with 3,000 miles on it for $125,000.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, mine was 137. And there you have it, guys. You just heard this MC20 from Maserati. You heard what it sounds like, whether it was sitting there revving it up You've heard what it sounds like on the canyons. You've seen us driving it. You heard our thoughts. Now it's time to hear your thoughts. What's your thoughts on the MC20 from Maserati? Is this something that you would get over the C8 Z06? Not me. I would rather get the C8 Z06. But this car is still a phenomenal car. It still does well.
Very well.
Yeah. So anyways, thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's been fun. It's time to get rolling here. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And also you visit Marcus's channel as well. He has Roads Untraveled, right?
Yeah.
Roads Untraveled, so look him up. I've been on his channel a long time ago. Back I think 2018, 2019, something like that. Make sure you visit his channel. Give him a follow. I'll put it right below, right here. It's going to say Roads Untraveled right here.
Thanks, man.
But anyways, it's been fun. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And I'll see you on the next video.